Cristiano Ronaldo and Manchester United have parted company with immediate effect. Ronaldo is no longer a Manchester United player. And Manchester United have released a statement. I'm going to read it to you as I know people are joining us all the time. This is what United have said. The club thanks him for his immense contribution across 2 spells at Old Trafford, scoring 145 goals in 346 appearances, and wishes him and his family well for the future. Everyone at Manchester United remains focused on continuing the team's progress under Erik ten Hag and working together to deliver success on the pitch. Well, Cristiano Ronaldo released a statement as well. He said, following conversations with Manchester United, we have mutually agreed to end our contract early. I love Manchester United and I love the fans. That will never, ever change. However, it feels like the right time for me to seek a new challenge. I wish the team every success for the remainder of the season and for the future. So that is both parties. Let's hear what the fans think. We've got Andy Mitten from United We Stand, who's waiting to speak to me. Andy, very good evening. Did this have to happen?
Yeah, I think it's a sensible thing. I think it's what Manchester United fans, I wouldn't say welcome because it's an unusual word to describe a pretty sad situation. But I think after that interview last week, this is the right decision. The club didn't want to hang around. They wanted to come to an agreement with Cristiano Ronaldo's people. He didn't want to be at Manchester United. He wanted to leave the club. That's been true for 4 or 5 months now. And he'll get his wish and both parties can move on. I think history will still remember Cristiano well as a Manchester United player. Probably the best player I've ever seen play for Manchester United in his first spell at Old Trafford. And he was a success last season. This season has not been a success. And it's been frustrating watching him to see his decline in real time. But he feels that he can still contribute a lot as a footballer. That's just not going to be at Manchester United. And I think that most Manchester United fans would wish him well, so as long as it's not at Liverpool or Manchester City.
I was going to ask you that. He says he loves the fans. That will never, ever change. Do you feel the United fans will still love him?
In the long term, yeah. I think there's quite a lot of frustration and touching on anger at the moment from a lot of Manchester United fans. They didn't like the interview which he did last week. They felt that him saying he'd been betrayed by Erik ten Hag wasn't a fair reflection of the relationship. But time will ease that, and time will remember a fantastic player who won the lot at Manchester United, became English, European and world champion at Manchester United, and one of the greatest players ever. He won the Ballon d'Or at Manchester United, and it was an unfortunate end, but it usually is for even the biggest name players. If you look at how it ended for Roy Keane, for Ruud van Nistelrooy, it tends to end, if not in acrimony, then in pretty unfortunate circumstances like now. And I suppose Cristiano being as high profile as he is, it was always going to come to a head, and it certainly came to a head. I think from Manchester United's perspective now, money will be freed up to buy a goal scorer, whether that is on a loan, whether that is something more permanent. And the team need goals. Manchester United have scored 20 goals in the league so far this season, half that of Manchester City. And Cristiano's goals have dried up. He was very productive last season. Hopefully he can score wherever he goes to. But for Manchester United fans, the priority will be the club that they support and seeing the team strengthen once again.
As he played a blinder here, he wanted out. There was also, he wasn't allowed to go in the summer. So what did he do? He did an explosive interview, and now he's got his wish. Is it just a masterstroke from Ronaldo?
Well, not really, because he's not going to get his full contract paid up, which is what I understand he wanted to leave. Manchester United would have happily let him leave on a free transfer, but what Manchester United were never prepared to do, and I agree with this, is pay his full contract up. So now an agreement has been reached. He will not be getting the full money what was owed to him if he'd stayed at Manchester United. But what he will have is the freedom of movement, the freedom of choice to go wherever he gets an offer to go to. So some compromise, but I think it's the right decision. And I've spoke to a lot of Manchester United fans about this, and it's fairly unanimous, actually. People feel that it worked out certainly the first time he was at the club, for most of the second time at the club. But after he did that interview, it became a very difficult situation, and it's probably best for all parties that he moves on.
What you've just said there, do you think United fans are happy that he came back to the club?
It's a good question. I think 95% were happy when he did come back to the club, myself included, because football's about dreams, and the idea that he was going to Manchester City and somehow Manchester United nicked in at the last minute, it may be overblown, but there's some truth to that. And he did well in that first season last year. It wasn't a great season for Manchester United. I think that initial burst of enthusiasm started to dissipate after 2 or 3 months, but he was still scoring a lot of goals at the end of last season. This season just hasn't worked out. He didn't have the pre-season for reasons which he's documented, and he scored 3 goals, 2 of them against Sheriff from Moldova. He's left the ground twice. I don't think that went down well with fans. I don't think that Erik ten Hag betrayed him. I think Erik ten Hag treated him fairly, but Cristiano's got his own version of the truth. And I don't think there was going to be any agreement between Cristiano and Erik ten Hag going forward. So it's best for him to move on. In hindsight, was it right for him to come back? I wouldn't be as enthusiastic now and knowing what was going to happen. But at the time, he was offered to Manchester United. I don't think it was planned in the long-term recruitment, because I'd spoke to the club 4 months before he came, when there were stories linking him to United from Juventus, and the club denied them outright. And then it happened. So that didn't fill me with confidence that the club was somehow recruiting in the medium term. It all seemed very short term. And I know that Ed Woodward got the numbers together, sold the idea to Joel Glazer. And commercially, Cristiano was very successful. I mean, he's hugely popular, especially with younger Manchester United supporters. But this season, it wasn't working out, and football and time waits for nobody. And that's why we've got this situation now.
Andy Mitten, thank you so much for coming on what is quite a day. Andy Mitten from United We Stand, thank you.